welcome to the Chamber Connection. Super excited that you could be here with us today. I'm Stephen Chakota. I'm the Executive Director for the Parkland Chamber of Commerce in Manitoba. And my co-host that's joining me is Melanie Fraser, the super talented individual from the Halton Hills Chamber in Ontario. So this episode we have two guests with us. We have Rob from Moosejaw and we have Jennifer from the Georgina Chamber. And we're going to be diving into what's making them tick, finding out what is inspiring them, how are they running their chambers, what's going on in their worlds, and really just how are they taking on this whole chamber journey of theirs. And they've been around for a little while, and they know a few things here and there, and I know we could have talked to them for days. We wanted to keep going, but we just didn't have the time. We have to try to keep these episodes a little short. So this episode is going to leave you wanting more. I hope it keeps you inspired and writing some notes down, because it sure left us like that as well. So let's just get to it. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, everybody on the podcast and everybody listening here. Stephen here coming from Manitoba and Melanie all the way in Ontario. And we're going to be just having a fun day today with these two special guests. So first up, I'd like to welcome Rob Clark, CEO for the Moosejaw and District Chamber of Commerce, and has been around since 2015. And Rob has been serving for a decade in chamber leadership roles, and he says that this is actually the best job in the business. So alongside contributions to many local boards and economic recovery efforts. And also joining us is Jennifer Anderson, Executive Director for the Georgina Chamber of Commerce for 8 years. And Jennifer's career is marked by a commitment to local commerce and community support, and extending beyond her chamber role into the local nonprofits and community television. And now we've got the tables turned on you, Jennifer. You've had me out for one of your sessions too, and Melanie, have you been on one of her episodes too? So now you're in the hot seat. We got you here.
Yeah, I don't feel any pressure at all. I mean, Jennifer hosts the Santa Claus parade in her community, for goodness sake. So no pressure on us.
No, definitely not.
So I'm really excited to have two people on the panel, one that I know really well and one that I'm just meeting today. That's the beauty of the Chamber Network, is that we can all kind of plug in together. And we wanted to chat today kind of about, just general chamber stuff, that day-to-day, month-to-month, week-to-week stuff that we do. And so maybe you can both tell us a little bit about your time at the chamber and kind of, what you have been focusing on, because we all run our chambers differently. So Rob, if you want to start out, I've heard some great stuff about how you are very intentional about you run your chamber like a business. So do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, through that. So there's two of us here at the chamber. There's myself and Heather. So capacity is limited on what we can do. And then through the COVID years, when all our membership, our event dues were gone, we decided to become a CBO. So right now we have, we actually manage the early years resource center. We're taking care of literacy. We have the RNIP program. We've got the seniors Moose Jobs, and we also got adapting to reality. So we're running 5 other programs. Of course, from that, we also get admin fees, and we actually rent rooms in our building. So it's been very successful, and it's very, very rewarding because we're really heavily involved with the community, and we do run it as a business. We maybe don't get into we still do the policies and governance, but that would analyze and paralyze us. So we still follow. We do have a committee. One of our lawyers, he takes care of that for us. But yeah, and no, it's been great. And yeah, like I said, this is the best job in the world. You get to meet people. You get to do different things. And Heather and I, we wing it every day. And we tell one another it's we do the same thing every day, but totally different. So
yeah,
it's been a lot of fun, and that's what I like about the fun and the social side of being on the chamber. It's I'm not going to retire for a long time yet.
For sure. How many members do you have, Rob?
We've got just over 600. 600
and only 2 staff members. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. So we've actually one thing we've done is during COVID we did the think tanks, and that really shot us. And then we really actually started the momentum. So we've actually been doing social media like crazy. I go out in the street and I got a couple stats here just from just on videos that we do a month. I do like 18 videos a month, and we do 240 posts, 624 shares. So anyway, we're really, really active at that. So we have people. I was at the board meeting the other day and had two applications to become a board member. I haven't even talked to them, but
Oh, wow.
they just see, yeah, like I'm close to 7,000 followers here. So we're very, very active at that, and nobody says anything to me anymore. What does a chamber do?
That's great.
When I first got here, what does a chamber do? And I couldn't even answer it. So I don't get asked that question now. We're fairly well plugged in within the community and all the different groups and
Yeah.
stuff.
Good for you. You know what I kind of take away from that, and Steve and I have talked about this before, is that, we hear a lot about, are you a 3C chamber? Are you a 3P chamber? And I think that some of the chambers that are in that policy and arena really focus on that should be a chamber's role. And I am a firm believer in that your chamber should be what your community needs it to be. And Jen, I know that, you and I have had conversations about this before. We like to talk about, should we be doing the Santa parades, and, where should we be spending our time when we're a smaller chamber? So what do you see in your community? What does your community need you to be?
Uh, our community needs all about community. I think you just answered that for us, and you're right. I do see a lot of, especially bigger chambers who are very advocacy driven. We aren't there yet, although we aspire to be. So we are more about the community, the connection, the creating events and opportunities and benefits for our chamber. So a little bit smaller than Rob's chamber. We're 317 members to be exact. We've grown about almost 100 chamber members in the last year. So
Wow.
I started with the chamber 8 years ago, background in television, community television, and a not-for-profit, as Stephen mentioned, and came into a bit of an unloved chamber. And over time, as I've gone to conferences, as I've talked to my other colleagues, I realized that I'm not alone, that there were a lot of chambers that were kind of evolving or changing. And so I stepped into a position that had been vacant for about 6 months. And so it was a real learning curve to begin with, because there was no one here to teach me the ropes of anything, including chamber master, including, it was a glorified Rolodex, and you step in and you have to learn and figure out what's best for the community. So we started to grow. And then, of course, COVID hit, and we remained a constant, although relevant, in our community. And then just out of COVID, we have continued to grow. So I always call us a little fish trying to be a big fish in that pond, because I think if you hang around with the big fish, then eventually some of that rubs off on you. So
definitely. So this is going to be a really big question, but like, can you, when I came into the chamber world, we were on a momentum, and we were maybe like, there was always that, what is the chamber doing for us? And there was maybe a little bit of a negative scope on the chamber, and I didn't have to exactly deal with that, but kept that momentum going and growing. But you had to deal with that directly. Maybe there's some chambers out there that are having to deal with that, or someone stepping into that going, how do I clean up this mess, or something like that. So maybe what are some of those checkpoints or little goals you hit, or what are some ways that you got your chamber into some better light?
It took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. And I don't say that as a negative. I just, you think you can go in and just make changes overnight, and it doesn't happen. There's a little bit of a trust value. And unfortunately for us, it was a well-known issue that had taken place. And so, you do have the community who sees that you're stepping into that role. For me, I went from a role in our community television and having, I was on a talk show twice a week as a local community show. And so I went from doing that to here. So there was a little bit of that momentum where I could really bank on the fact that I love community. We're going to get this back, and we're going to move it in the right direction. So I kind of took with that and ran. I really think it was just the idea of building the relevance. If you're not relevant, you shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And so it really started with, we couldn't increase membership dues. We couldn't increase any of those things until we created the value behind it. So it took a little bit of time of creating events, creating opportunities that people wanted to be a part of. And then you can start to increase that trust, those dues, those opportunities. And so, over time, it just evolves into people seeing and understanding. And for me, there was different categories of people who were joining. There were, businesses who were maybe new and starting up and joining for the first time. There were those that were returning, which was wonderful to see. And there were the ones that really were the naysayers who then returned. And that was wonderful to see. So there was different pockets of opportunities with our local businesses, but really just showing rather than telling what the changes are, I think is beneficial for any chamber.
And that's in line with what Rob said, right? Rob talked about the value that they provide, and nobody asks him anymore what the chamber does. So Rob, for you and your community, so you've got 600 members. I'm not sure what your population is like, but when Jennifer talks about relevance, being relevant to our members, what does that mean for your chamber? What type of things do you make sure to spend your time on? You talked about social media, but what else? Oh, I think you're on mute. There he is.
How did I do that? Anyway, we are our social media. So I have a bit of a background, similar to Jennifer there, as I was the publisher of the newspaper here. So I knew all the businesses, I knew everybody. I play hockey here. I've coached every kid in town. So if you're stepping into the role, I actually, I already one leg in already. Still took me 3 years to figure out what the chamber was after I was a board member for about 12 years, because when you're a board member, you really don't know what the chamber does in some cases.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got in and got going. But I'm if you send me an email, I'll phone you, because I don't send emails unless I have to. So I go out and see everybody and talk to everybody. Quite a social fellow. And you know what? They just started believing in it. I mean, you got to get out. You got to be the face of it. You can't sit behind the desk, and you got to be out there. You got to be involved in everything. Every time somebody invites me to something, I go to it.
Yeah.
And what I do is I find something more interesting and have some really good conversations. And so I met Stephen. Like we met, and every time we go to, we're always looking for one another to chit chat again.
That's
Get
awesome.
stories. So anyway, that's really what we do. We our chamber plan has been pretty significant to us. We've really been pounding away on that.
So that's
and I'm just going to say there's a question probably later coming up about it, but it's really Heather and I were just talking the other day, the amount of people that are getting memberships because of the chamber plan. We went from like 150, I think we're over 200 now or something. I don't know the exact numbers, but we are growing and growing, and we work really well with the agents here. And yeah, just our awareness, like people are just talking about us because we're all over the place, and we don't have any budget for marketing or sponsoring, but we're at every event that we can be.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. Like, you might not have the budget to put an ad in the paper, so you be the ad, right? You'd be at the event.
Yeah.
I set a goal this year for this calendar year that I was going to go to 100 members businesses and spend, some time with them. And it has been day and night a game changer for us. I did exactly what you said. I got away from my desk and just said, I'm going to go do what I do best. And I connect with people and they love it, and it really gives me an idea of what's going on in our community.
Yeah, it makes them feel good that you're coming out to see them instead of sending them an email or a text message or a phone call. Like, everybody does that. So why not be a little bit more outgoing?
Yeah, it is hard.
That would be, sorry, I cut everybody off.
No, I was just going to say, though, Jen was going to say.
Off when they're talking. But yeah, no, that's been the best thing ever to happen to anybody. You go down there, I usually wear a sweatshirt, pretty casual. In the wintertime, summertime, I got golf shorts on and golf shirt and go down, and it's just casual and casual. And everybody just appreciates the simple fact that that we're down there and chatting with them. And yeah, so it means a lot to them businesses. You probably wouldn't think it would, but it's pretty meaningful for them.
For sure. Jen, what do you have to say about that? It's hard, right? It's hard to do it all.
Absolutely, but I agree 1,000%. It is the right direction. It's what you need to do. But, at the end of the day, we all know how difficult it is to get everything accomplished. And the to-do list never ends. You always just keep adding to the bottom. And so you really have to force yourself to be able to commit to those days where, you stop everything in the office. It doesn't need to be done because the most important thing is that connection and heading out in the community and really talking to your members and to local businesses.
Yeah. And yeah, just I can't I'm shocked. I mean, I'm in awe right now. Like, Rob, how you're getting it all done. Like, you have what did you say? 600 members, and there's just the two of you. Like, how are you pulling that off? What are you doing and especially if you're like how we caught you at your office right now. I don't understand. You say you're at all these different spots. Like, how are you and Heather getting anything done at the office and keeping your chamber rocking and rolling there?
Well, the only reason I'm back here is because of you and Melanie at the moment. So anyway, Heather, so I've been here just shy of 9 years, I think in June or July. Heather's been here for a while, so she's like 14 years. So she does all the admin. She takes care of everything there. I don't want to do what she does. She doesn't want to do what I do. So we're a really, really good match. And she sort of, she always corrects me because I say, okay, let's do this. And then she said, did you ever think about this, Rob? So anyway, we work very well together. I'm out and about. I do whatever we can. And I mentioned earlier that we have five other contract people in here. So every once in a while, I grab one of them and say, okay, come and shoot a video with me. So we do ad lib and get them to help us out. It is, I go home, I get in my car and I go home and I go, oh, geez, what just happened today? Like, it's 5 o'clock and, and I probably missed lunch or something, but it's, I tell you what, I'm having a blast. You can see the smile on my face.
Yeah.
It's the best job I've ever had. And I was a publisher of newspapers for like 29 years. So, so it was, this is the best job. It's fabulous.
So great.
And
It's
getting
all
to meet
about
you people
attitude.
is awesome.
It really is about attitude, right? Focusing on what we can do versus what we can't get done.
Yeah.
So Jen, you're a small chamber office as well. So it's you and you have one other staff member?
Yes, one other staff. She's 4 days a week.
Okay, so how do you guys divvy everything up? How do you focus your time?
So Michelle is our membership services coordinator. So she tends to focus on that administration piece in terms of onboarding and bringing our members in. But we really, like Rob, if you have a great team and you work well together, then it really shows and creates some of that success. So we are able to, when it comes to events and it comes to doing those things, we're able to kind of spell each other off and really work on whether it's the marketing or advertising. But we're pretty adamant about getting Michelle out 1 day a week so that way she can, focus and talk to members. And then for me, doing the same. So that way I can go out and talk to members somewhat in a different light. It's not necessarily all about membership, but just about those opportunities that exist, whether it's sponsorship or just being connected and connecting them to other businesses. So I should mention we do have typically 4 summer students that come in, and they are
Wow.
yes
4.
4. We're very lucky. We are in so for anybody who doesn't know, Georgina is the northern end of York region in the Toronto area. And so we are right at the southern end of Lake Simcoe. And so we're on the water, become a little bit of a tourism destination. Not so much, we only have a couple hotels, a resort and a regular hotel, but we are really a day trip destination. We're 45 minutes from Toronto, and so instead of going to cottage country, this is a great day trip and a lake and provincial park for people to be able to visit. So as a result, and for many years, we've worked with the town to create tourism initiatives and provide tourism initiatives. So we have the tourism center, as you can see over my shoulder, lots of brochures and information. We house the tourism center here. We have a trailer that we have converted into a mobile tourism center that sits at one of our beaches. That
Wow.
was a couple of years ago we did. And then we have those summer students who have kiosks, have booths and are at events and really are ambassadors of our community. So when you get some young blood in here, the advertising changes a little bit, the dynamic, the ideas and gearing towards a younger demographic sometimes comes out, which is a great learning experience for some of us who are a little more seasoned. So we're ramping up for that tourism season in our community, and that's when it gets kind of crazy in here.
So on that marketing side of Pete, like your branding when it comes to the chamber, do you like it sounds like you kind of embrace that change, or how do you keep like that core of what the Georgina Chamber is and looks like when you have those transitions all the time with the new staff?
So we've always talked a little bit about that umbrella and that chamber umbrella here, where we have those two pillars. Obviously we have the business side and the chamber side, and then we have a little bit of that tourism. So it really does, when you're in a smaller community, there's a lot of crossover. And it's, if we're promoting tourism and we want you to come to our beaches, but while you're here, can you stop for gas? Can you go to the restaurant? Can you use our supermarket before you pack your picnic, right? And so, if we can create those opportunities to get our visitors into local businesses, there really is a big crossover in what we do. It's just we start to ramp up in the summer there's a lot of different signature events and the agricultural fair and a painted perch festival. And so you start to get some of these signature events that you're promoting at and being ambassadors for the community. So whether it's a resident or a tourist that walks up, we're still promoting the same thing. How great Georgina is, how great our local businesses are. Have you checked out this list of local businesses? We created a full list of all restaurants. And so, those are the things we want to hand out and get into the hands of people, no matter if they live near or far. So.
Yeah. Wow. It's funny. I think we're all sitting here as smaller chambers with, 2 or 3 staff. And I always think, gosh, if I had $1 million, what would I spend it on, in my chamber? So I'm curious for you. So Rob, if you had the money to hire an additional full-time staff person, what would you have them doing?
Well, yeah, probably marketing, probably some social media. I would think marketing and social media. Sooner or later, I'm going to find somebody younger than me to do this. But anyway, that and we're plugging along here really, really well. But I think marketing, some support for Heather. Heather, she only takes like a week off because she's got to do payroll. And anyway, it'd be nice to have a bit of support. I keep thinking about that. There's more opportunities out there that we could do.
Yeah.
Just even being a member relation, somebody going around getting some help with sponsorship, because I basically do all of that, and it'd be nice to have a little bit of help because I'm probably leaving some some out there that I probably could have gotten, and it's that's probably be the areas, being out marketing, corresponding with the members. There's I forget how many businesses are in Moosejaw, but we probably can get another 600 if I had somebody else.
Wow.
I'll just being a little bit cocky there.
You can do it, Rob.
You can do it. You got to visit them all. You're fine.
Yeah. No, it's been a blast, and I've never been thrown out of a business yet. So.
It's the sweatshirt. I think it's the golf shorts. I think that's what's helping you.
Yeah. You could see my legs; it'd be throwing me out.
So speaking of sponsorship, we talked about how you like to monetize things. So, question for you both: do you run events where you're either net neutral or where you're not making money? Because I know a lot of chambers struggle with that.
Mhm.
So for us, we actually did last year, ran a few events taking a hit. And we did have a little bit of a deficit last year. And part of that, I think, is pretty normal for some chambers who were receiving some help, some leverage with grants and opportunities, and then those are gone, and now you're starting to rebuild. But for some of our events, we went from COVID and having a breakfast, lunch, and or after 5 that had, the same people, a few people. We'd get, probably 16 people, which is terrible, prior to COVID. And as we're coming out of COVID and we see this resurgence of people who just want to be together and in person, and we ran with it. So we put in a little money to, provide appetizers to be able to create bigger and better events. And now we're seeing 50 people at our events, which is great for our little chamber. We've never seen anything like that. And I should say, in January, we had 50 people register for our breakfast, and we're looking at Chamber Master going, what is this? And we realized we had a waiting list for a breakfast. We didn't even know it was an option on Chamber Master because we've never had this problem.
So
And
exciting.
so all of a sudden we're like, hey, there's like a waiting list over here for breakfast. So
now you can monetize it, right? So we found the same. Our business after hours kept growing and growing because we were putting on a good event. So this year I sold sponsorship for the whole series. So it was a $5,000 sponsorship to come on and be the main sponsor. And so that's money I don't even have to think about. It was a one and done.
And that's what we did. That $250 that we were providing for those appetizers has turned into that sponsorship for each of those events.
Yeah.
And it really has, it's a catch-22, right? Nobody's coming to the breakfast because nobody's really there, but nobody's really there because nobody's taking the leap and going to the breakfast, right? So until you got people to actually go out and be a part of it, now we've built this network where people are excited to be able to go. So, and those sponsorships have started. And one last thing, because I don't want to take Rob's time, but I know for us, we have an easier time this year selling sponsorship than we do the registration and the tickets for events, which is crazy.
Same here.
And you need both. You need the people at those events, but we really are doing well and we're successful with that sponsorship piece, which is crazy.
Yeah. I wonder if it's the ticket price. So Rob, how do you price your so because we're finding the same. I'm hustling to get people to the event sometimes and sleepless nights. And then everybody comes in the night before and I want to cry because all that stress. And I wonder, is it the ticket price? Do they need it to be a little less? And should we be relying more heavily on sponsors for our revenue stream? Rob, how do you guys price your events out?
Well, we actually, to try and get some of them there, is we might make a couple $100 in each one of them. I'm just going to rewind for a minute if there was another body in here. I have them doing what Jennifer's doing and yourself doing and getting sponsorship out there, because some of our events are like, we just throw them together and we should have a plan of, selling it for a year and getting it started. COVID, we used to have a really good participation, but recently, since after COVID, our attendance has been probably 50%. And maybe because we're not organized enough, we just haven't got it done. I send out actually personal invites to people to get them there, and
wow.
And so they think it's a personal invite, but anyway, they always say, "Well, thanks for the personal invite. I'll be there." But yeah, no. So something like that. We a couple $100, and then we have our other major events. Like, sponsorship is easy. But there's so many sponsorships you can do, and we just can't do it all. So I'd like to get some of our events going again and being able to talk to the town. So
this is actually the first year that we have put together our sponsorship package. We've never had one before. We've always had sponsorship, but it's never been in a booklet where you can see it at the beginning of the year. So this is the first time that we mapped out the year, mapped out our 5 signature events, those extra breakfasts and after fives, and then put it out to everybody. And then we put bundled packages together to create even more opportunities for some of those repeat sponsors who want to sponsor everything. And we love them, but it's much easier to send out one invoice and have them break down all of the events that they want to be able to do.
I
And
could
there's
kind
good
I
of,
don't know if
appetite
you
for
know,
that.
but I like to rob and deploy. So could you send me your sponsorship?
I
package
sure
to
There we
rob
go.
and
Well,
chamber.com?
Deneen at the CCEC would tell you, please upload it to the member resource and
Yes.
but
I will do
Send,
both.
send it
How's
directly to
that?
me and then to the resource center.
Love it. You know, with our bundled packages, what we did this year as well is I gave a little bit of a discount for the second tier. So my change this year is you can't be a presenting sponsor for a signature event unless you're also a supporting sponsor for one of our smaller ones. So that I can ask for a little bit more, but I'm not hustling for each event that way. And it just looks like a better value package for them. But you know, it happens to all of us. You know, we get the sponsors, we lose the sponsors too, right? So if a major sponsor comes in and decides this isn't the year, you know, you need that backup plan of people who are ready to go to the next level. So would you
With
say, oh, sorry, Steve, I was just,
you go for it. I'm
no, I
gonna
was
gear shift hard, so you go for it.
well, I was just gonna ask, like, is your revenue coming from mainly membership for both of you, or is it events? Is it sponsorship? Is it split?
For us, we have our tourism
Oh, yeah.
grant that we do on behalf of the town. So there is a portion there that's strictly for those provisions. We do have membership that is pretty heavy right now, and we're starting to build those events up. In just 4 weeks, we have our home show, and it's the first time that we're doing it in 5 years. So it's a bit of a beast that we're working on right now, especially when you haven't done it for so long. But we're having a lot of success with selling the booths and getting exhibitors in, and so, you know, I think once we see the revenue from that, then those gears will shift a little bit, and we'll have a little more of that event-based revenue and non-dues rather than just our membership.
Got it.
We're much the same. Our membership fees are about 35%. I'm just looking here, our MJ Bex awards. Some of our bigger awards are like 25%. And chamber benefits, we also have about 18%. Heather puts these fancy things together for me, so I get to read it this first time ever. They're about 15% of our income. For our revenue is we have 9 office spaces in here, and we rent them all out. They're all occupied.
Oh, wow, good for you.
So that's pretty good. I mean, that really helps our chamber, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You mentioned what we want for our $1 million. Part of what I want is a Heather, because she sounds amazing.
Yeah.
The mayor said at the MJ Bex was it 2 years ago. He says, and you probably already heard it, but I hadn't. He said, Rob's the head and Heather's the neck. So,
What's MJ Bex? So
the Moosejaw Business Excellence Awards.
Business Excellence Awards.
So we have that coming up here about a month today.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Steve, I swear to God, I'm going to shut up now. It's all yours.
No,
Show.
quite right. No, this was great discussion because revenue generating, especially diversifying what your revenue is very important. So no, that was great discussion, and getting chambers mindful of where it's all coming from and making sure you're not just heavy on events or just looking at sponsorships and trying to pull every dollar out of your business community or your members as possible. It's not quite always the best tactic and lucrative that way. So when you can go in other directions, fantastic. I did want to shift gears because we are going to be getting close to that time, but you've both been around for a long time. I just want to find out from you what your relationship with your board has been like. What's that history? Have you seen a lot of coming and going? And I would imagine, yeah, you've got great relationships, but for some out there, maybe what's your perspective on that connection between that volunteer side versus what you guys are doing in-house?
Well, I can start quickly, and probably you guys are going to stop my hand, but we got 19 board members.
Wow.
I was expecting to stop in the hand, not a big, but so we have 16 that are voted on by membership. We have 15 wing out here. We have the city hall, and we also have Saspoli. And everybody asked me why about that. And I says, you know what, if we knocked it down to 8, and we just lost maybe 8 potential sponsors. But we had a meeting on Tuesday and 17 were there. We've never been less than like 15 board members there. They're all very diverse. We get lawyers and electricians and, different people. So it's been really, really good. Lots of good input. Lots of some good business people, some good nonprofits are on the board, and really, really easy to work with. I mean, I make it easy for them.
Yeah.
So how we do it at our board, and I don't know if somebody, if we're doing something major, I'll make sure I get it sent out. But usually what I do is, this is what we're going to be doing this month. Here's where we have. I'll follow up with you like next month, because I don't have the time to be phoning everybody and doing that stuff. So they've really been good in my eight and a half years being here. It's we when I first got here, again, the chamber wasn't awareness wasn't quite as high, and I'm not being arrogant by any means, but I had to go out and beg people. But now we're getting like, when we do our churn, etc., we're getting like maybe 8-10 people wanting to get on the board, so which is pretty nice. So they see value as well too. But that took time. That wasn't like the next year. It took a lot of time. So.
And how are you getting that engagement? Like where like everyone's participating at the table, and like you said, they're all showing up to the meeting. So
well, they get a free meal too, but
there it is.
There it is. But yeah, no, they're all engaged, and they're really, really, really excited about all the different things we're doing. Like, I mean, like we diversified out with all these other community partnerships, and that I'll just rewind quickly past in the last 2 years, we've probably generated over $100,000 in revenue because of the admin fees and the rent fees that we are charging for these other local businesses. So it's really, 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 really worked out.
Wow, good job. I think the free food should be in the onboarding board document, because my board members love it when I feed them. So I think I might have to budget for that.
Yeah.
Jen, what about you? How big's your board?
So our board currently is 15, which is a little bit higher than last year. So I'm gonna rewind a little bit. A few years ago, when you start to do that cleanup and you start to work to accreditation and all of those things, we sent our updated bylaws into Corporations Canada, and we're audited under the Board of Trade Act too. And so as we, over the years, over 49 years, those bylaws have changed, but they didn't necessarily all get approved through the Board of Trade Act. And so we, as Board of Trade Act 2, have to have a minimum of 11 on our board. And so our bylaws stayed 11 to 15. So this is the first time we've gone up to 15 just last month. And if anybody has issues with bylaws and all of those things, we've done it here. So it's one of those R&D things as well. But 15 allows us to kind of create opportunities for each of them. We've created a couple new committees instead of moving away from them, because I have a great chair right now who really sees the value in less meetings for staff and more opportunity to work and be with members. It's pointless for us to spend hours with minutes and organizing meetings and attending meetings and just reiterating marketing at a marketing committee meeting when we're just going to talk about it at our board meeting. So she sees the value in eliminating some of that work, but creating more committees like governance, and that advocacy piece now allows us to kind of branch out and have board members and our members work on some of those things instead of us doing it internally. So yeah. So I have a good board right now, but my previous life and this life, it all depends on your board. And if you're a great board, things can really go well. But if there's a few bad apples, then it can kind of change your day, but also your vision and your mission. So
I think any new chamber executive coming in, I sat on our board for a long time before I took over in a paid role. And I look back in horror at myself some days and I think, oh my God, I was the idea girl. I was the, you know what would be a great idea? And my poor executive director probably hated every time I opened my mouth. So I feel like that board management part of it is such a huge part of our job that none of us really have training in, because it's different from chamber to chamber and from board to board.
And it's a weird dynamic too, right? Because they're your boss,
Yeah,
but you also advise them. So it's that
yeah.
weird balance back and forth. So understandably, it could be a little difficult. How's everyone handling that, John?
I was going to say, I think once you start to realize where the lines are, because I've used the line, well, that's not governance. That's not your responsibility. Let us look after that. I've used that just as much as I've used, that's not up to me.
Yeah.
That's actually you. So you're going to have to work on that. Or unfortunately, I can't do that. The board says no, right? So it's learning what areas are your responsibility and not, and then trying really hard to blur those lines.
Well,
Mhm.
a good strategic plan helps you with that too, right? Because it gives you the parameters to kind of like the sandbox that you have to play in, and you know when you get out of it. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
can you believe we've already been talking for almost 40 minutes? And I swear to God, I could talk to each of you for probably another hour.
we have to do this again.
Yeah, we were joking we should all have wine at our at the podcast, or beverage of choice, whatever floats your boat. You know, Steve and I, when we were developing this idea, you know, we just knew there were so many people in the industry that were experts in their own right and for different reasons, and you guys have really proven that today. So we want to thank you so much for your time. Anything that we didn't touch on, like, so if you had the chance, Rob, to sit down with a brand new chamber executive, and you could give them one tidbit of advice, what would it be?
We'll have fun and enjoy it, and be the face of the chamber. Don't
Yeah.
sit behind a desk, and get out there and be just be informational, and
Yeah.
and supportive of everything in the community. We always talk about, and I think everybody else says, if you got a strong community, you got a great business community, got a great business community, you got a strong community. So we're the same as Jennifer. We do everything, and it's not just all about chamber, it's about the community. And
Yeah.
I've been born and raised here, and I won't let that down. So
Love that. Jim, what about you? What's your little nugget of advice for a newbie?
So the advice that was given to me was make sure in your budget you set aside money for professional development.
Oh, yeah.
And I had no idea, I didn't really know what that meant.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to attend the provincial and the federal chamber conventions, head to CCEO, which is our provincial, or CCEC, head to those professional development conventions and conferences and activities, and connect with the colleagues that you have. It's the best thing I ever did, and it's the best thing that you can ever do for yourself in this chamber world.
yeah,
R&D is real,
Well said. Yep.
and it's an amazing way to connect with other people who are doing what you do.
I ditto on that.
hmm Yeah, you never know. You could be sitting at a bar and having a drink with someone like Rob here, and you can end up chatting and making connections for years to come, or get jammed into a car going through Thunder Bay, Ontario to go to a casino or something like that. You
Oh,
never
that
know
sounds like a
who, like
story.
Jennifer, I
Just
don't know.
going with the strangers from Manitoba,
You
getting in a
never know.
car.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we've had so much fun today with you both. Thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you.
we'll be sure to pick your brains again in the future, because we have a bunch more things we'd love to ask. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, and looking forward to it.
Thanks so much.
All the best to you all.